start talking with what happened with Bored Ape Yacht Club. So if you guys don't know, Bored Ape Yacht Club is owned by a company called Yuga Labs. Obviously, they're the biggest blue chip. Like, people are buying them from $250,000 all the way to $20 million, depending on the ape. They went out and did a huge acquisition, which they went out and bought CryptoPunks, which is another big blue chip in the NFT space. Probably the second biggest, which is crazy because it's, if you equate it, it's almost like Google buying Facebook, right? Which in normal human life, that's impossible. But in decentralization, it's technically possible, but it also kind of makes it weird because they're kind of becoming the monopoly of blue chips, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the topic we were going to talk about is like Scott Galloway posted an article I was sharing before we went live of like the promise of Web3 is decentralization, right? Mm-hmm. That's the big value proposition is, hey, you know, the world today has been centralized. A few big companies control everything, and that's not good. So Web3, it's like power to the people. You know, everyone owns everything, and there's no big players. What's interesting is it seems like it's actually the human nature is human nature.
Right.
Like, that's what the interesting thing is. Like, we're still all humans. And what happens over time, no matter what the technology is power consolidates, and people consolidate, and money consolidates. And I think that's what's happening in Web3. It's like, okay, NFTs are supposed to be, again, decentralization part of it. Everyone can own everything, these DAOs, all this stuff. But now you have the big player buying up all the other big players. And pretty soon you'll have Yuga own all the big collections. You have Nike bought RTFKT, right? So they own Clone X and all these things. So it's like, is it really that different than the current infrastructure and current world we have?
It's different. Literally, I think the only difference, if you're smart and you look at it, is that you can actually manipulate this. Right?
Yeah.
There's certain things you cannot manipulate because of laws in like the real world, right? But in the metaverse, you can. For now, there are no rules, right? So you can create monopolies. You don't have any rules. You can do insider trading. Like, you can really kind of do whatever you want. For the time being, probably for the next year, maybe two. I think after that, it's going to get regulated, which again totally takes away the whole concept of being decentralized. Once you're regulated, you are centralized. You're systemized.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Galloway said is, if you look at who owns all the NFTs and who owns all the Bitcoin and the big crypto, it's like a single-digit % of wallets own almost all NFTs, almost all Bitcoin. I think the stat was like 2% of wallets I just shared own
Bitcoin. Like
80+% of all the Bitcoin supply. Like, that's not decentralized. NFTs, it was, I think, 9% of wallets own 85% of all NFTs, something like that. That's not decentralized. And what you have is what Galloway talked about is like, if you want to control large groups of people, if you want to control a country or a civilization, right, you need to control the media, you need to control the economy, and you need to control the military. Those are the three big things. If you control all three of those, you can control large groups of people. So what's happened now with Silicon Valley is they now control the media. With this move with Web3, they're going to control the economy, right? Because everything shifts to Web3. Everything's done through crypto, all ownerships to NFTs. Now you have Andreessen Horowitz, these big VC firms. They own all these companies. They've backed them all early on, and they've made just insane amounts of money because they can double dip. Like, that's what's crazy we talked about before. It's like you're able to, if you're a VC, get in early in these projects. Not only do you get pieces of the company, the actual LLC stock, or the C Corp, you get the stock, but you also get the currency. You get the token or the NFTs of an NFT project. And then you can pump those into the market, right? You can sell a ton of those, make tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And you didn't sell any stock. You still own the stock. So if the company goes public or gets acquired, then you make money then too. So they're just printing money, and they don't want that to stop.
Yeah, like Andreessen Horowitz and Lightspeed Ventures are two of the main investors in Coinbase.
Yep.
Right? And so think about it. I mean, the reality, let's not pretend. You invest in Coinbase before it's even public, right? Then it goes public, whatever the case. Every coin that's about to hit Coinbase, they know.
Yep.
And every time a coin hits Coinbase, it spikes.
Yep.
So all you have to do is say, okay, Solana's coming in 2 weeks. Let me go buy $20 million of Solana. It's out. Boom. I'm going to sell 7 days later, boom. And it's not insider trading because it's decentralized, but it completely is. And if we could do this, we'd be doing this. But it is what it is, right? The rich in that scenario, the super rich get richer. They have all the funds to do these things, and they continue to be smart about it realistically because they found the same loophole that small people like us found. They just have unlimited amounts of capital to continuously do this over and over and over again. So I don't know where it's going to go because it's getting less and less decentralized, so to speak, in certain concepts. And I'm sure there's going to be other stuff that's going to be, I guess, more decentralized, but money manipulates everything. So it doesn't, at the end of the day, you can say all you want, but if Sandbox goes public, they're not going to be decentralized, right? If Bored Ape Yacht Club is turning into a company, they went from awesome art to some cool events to raising $500 million, right? Once you raise $500 million, you are answering to investors, to advisors, to everybody that invested inside of your business. You're now a company, you're for profit, you're for focus on certain particular goals to get that 500 million to turn into $5 billion within a few times. And how is that going to happen? Probably Bored Ape Yacht Club at some point will probably even go public.
Yeah, if they need. I mean, the other thing too is like a lot of these companies may just decide not to because they don't need the capital, like, and they don't want the regulation, right? But yeah, I think it's very likely they could do that. What's interesting, a thought that I've been having too, is like, you think about the promises of Web3 as we're talking through these. It's, the decentralization and power to the people and democratization and stuff, and how it's the exact opposite. And the more this has been like a turning point for me in a week. Like since I read that article, I've been really thinking a lot about this. And like, this is actually really interesting and seems pretty accurate. Then you go even further, like in the real world, we have income inequality is a big thing that people talk about, right? The wealth gap, how if you're wealthy and you have assets, you make more and more money because you own things that appreciate and pay you, right? And the more you do that, you reinvest it, the more money you make, right? And it builds and builds and compounds over time. We're seeing that play out in Web3 too, if you think about it, right? So if you were one of the people that got in early on Bored Ape or CloneX, one of these big projects, right? What happens? Over time, they do airdrops. They give you new NFT projects. You get whitelisted. You get all these things that compound and that build you. So the ape, right, coin that came out, if you owned a Bored Ape, what did you get? Like 10,000 apes?
Yeah.
10,000 apes. They're selling on Coinbase right now for about $11-12, right? So you got about $110,000, $120,000 for holding one Bored Ape. What are people going to do with that? They're going to sell a big chunk. They're going to buy more Bored Apes. They're going to buy more CloneX. And then what's going to happen? They're going to get airdrop more tokens. They're going to get more NFTs. They're going to get more kind of digital assets, digital real estate that's going to pay them. And so in the Web3 world, the people that own these assets get richer and richer, faster and faster, and it becomes harder if you're new or don't have money to play the game.
Point. Yeah,
because no normal person can afford to buy a Bored Ape right now.
Yeah, you can't just walk in and slap $400,000 down.
Yeah, so I don't know how this plays out, but it is interesting. It's happened very, very fast, and the gaps have grown really, really fast. The entry points have gotten a lot further away. So short of some major like pullback correction in NFTs that give people an opportunity to get back in, we're in this weird place where there's a small group of people that have already built this massive moat and built up just insane amounts of wealth, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as NFTs expand.
Yeah, I mean,